Hey, what's happening?
Yo, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah, how goes it? You want to introduce yourself, name, pronouns, everything to chat?
Yeah, okay, I muted the stream. Hi, my name is Ben. He, him.
Hmm.
I am a senior last quarter psych student in Seattle. I just started nursing school starting next quarter. This is a freaking super cool community you got here, so this has been like really, really cool. I wanted to
Thank you.
say thanks for putting me in your research document. The link that I put to the Ross 2015 study was from one of my classes, and so that was like really freaking cool to see actual things happening from school things. It's like really
Yeah,
fun.
that's
So
amazing.
yeah. It is so weird having your face very lagged from the voice in Discord, so everything's great. Okay, so here's my question.
Hmm.
It is so easy to argue that everything that the left wants is bad if the right does it, because that's kind of a thing. But how
Can
do
you
we? So how do
elaborate?
we just?
Or
Yeah,
sorry.
sure. So
Yeah.
like, how do we distinguish what is essentially the argument that real minorities have gripes that are valid
Hmm.
from that the rights, what they describe as minorities, are not? Like, there's, I'm trying to word that in a little bit better way, but basically, like, Tucker Carlson is censored. It's like not valid necessarily.
Oh, you mean like the individual is the smallest minority. I'm being
Eh,
silenced. Like
uh,
Marjorie Taylor Greene getting up in front of Congress,
yes, exactly that.
wearing the mask, saying that she's being silenced or censored when
Oh
she's literally
yes,
speaking in front of Congress. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about
literally
this.
that, literally that.
Yeah. So I mean, like, the easiest way, all right, so like let's break this down a little bit. So like a lot of like, I was thinking about this the other day, right? And there is like seriously a problem of victim culture in the conservative movement, which is hilarious because often they will like, hold on, I actually want to bring up a tweet. Like, I was tweeting about this a little bit earlier today, so this is actually very timely. That's I'm sorry. This will only be like a small detour. Um, let's see, where was this? Uh, God, where was this? It was someone. It was someone complaining about being canceled.
There was the recent rapper dude. That's what kind of like flipped the switch that I was actually going to talk on Discord. I was like, what is this nonsense?
Yeah, I
The
can't find
fake
it, but
woke and
essentially,
cancel culture songs.
yeah, I can't find it, but essentially, oh, Marjorie Taylor. Well, I guess the best example would have been to pull up the Marjorie Taylor Greene example, right? Like her getting up in front of
Mm.
Congress and being literally wearing a mask that says censored while she's talking in front of the nation, right?
Yeah.
And then simultaneously trying to equate that to the way that people who are of certain minority backgrounds are disparately impacted. The way that I generally focus on getting through these arguments, because they're so bad. They're so bad.
Oh yeah.
Because generally conservatives will try to conflate the fact that they are criticized with this, like they will try to falsely equate the fact that they get criticized and that they are deplatformed for spreading misinformation and hate with the fact that people can suffer adverse effects by virtue of, I don't know, systemic institutions which negatively affect them in one way or another, right? Like they will try to falsely equate these two things. One example was when people were being taken off of, like, if a lot of far right people were being taken off of Twitter um,
Oh yeah.
a while ago, and a lot of people on the right were basically trying to say, this we're our free speech is being taken away. We're being oppressed. We're being silenced for our opinions. We're being
Yeah.
silenced for our free speech. When literally the reason why they are being like silenced is because they had intentionally spread misinformation and were fostering communities that were more likely to commit harm against other people, right? And so for me, it comes down to kind of like this paradox of it comes down to like the paradox of the intolerant, right? Or the paradox of tolerance. And so like in order to be able to live in this society, which is
Yeah,
truly tolerant,
100%. That's
yeah,
like super what like just like zeroes out my brain, like completely shorts my brain is exactly that. The
yeah,
paradox of tolerance where it's like I'm literally just trying to be yeah, exactly that.
yeah. And so like to break it down, just to be super clear about it, people will try to say that they are being persecuted, right? This is always like the minority is this, or the individual is the smallest minority kind of argument. The one that you see a lot of conservatives make is that they will say that they are being oppressed or silenced or mistreated without ever actually saying why, like they'll never actually tell you, like if you ask them, oh, so hey, so what are you being silenced for? Or what did you say that caused people to react adversely to you? They'll usually kind of skate around that, when 9 times out of 10, it's probably because like they were saying something bad about like black people or Jewish people or something crazy like that 9/11 didn't happen. I don't know, like fucking pick anything
Jewish
that
first
Marjorie Taylor,
lasers, I think, is the current one.
yeah, like a fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that fires in California were started by Jewish space lasers. Gee, I wonder why people are criticizing her online. It couldn't possibly because of something crazy like that. Oh Lord. No, it's like the idea is that they try to equate the idea of being criticized in the public for saying stupid things as the same as actually being a persecuted minority. Which is really sad, because for a lot of people who have not experienced what it's like to actually live in a society that is predisposed against you by virtue of like some individual quality of you, it can be hard to kind of like understand why that argument or why that kind of implication is faulty, Because like if you are not like black or LGBT or otherwise come from some kind of like marginalized background, you might not have the lived experience to understand the distinction between a large group of people criticizing you for one thing versus another, right? Even if they're two completely different things. In one instance, you have a lot of people criticizing conservatives for saying things that are blatantly wrong and which foster hate towards a particular group. And then the other, you have people being criticized for being trans or being black, and those I would,
Criticism is not like a flat, inherent like censorship across all space time.
yeah, like literally, it's just as simple as, hey, like don't foster hate towards a particular group, and you will probably be fine. So that's generally the way I kind of like navigate through those situations. Anyone who tries to make an argument that like, oh, actually the right is being censored, oh, actually the right is being the right is being canceled, the right is being persecuted, the right is actually the truly oppressed people, it's like, damn, that's really interesting to hear, despite the fact that literally every piece of like anti-LGBT, anti-minority, anti-immigration act has been passed by the Conservative Party in the US. It's really weird how that happens to be the case, like, gee, if only they could just like stop hating on minorities. But yeah, and
It
I
seems
don't.
so simple.
Yeah, if only that was so simple. But the hard thing is that like I say that, and I know that there will be a lot of people who tend to self-identify as more conservative who will be like, wait, but that's not me. I generally don't do that. But then those same people will also probably be in situations where they have never actually been like overtly criticized for having those kind of beliefs. Or conversely, and I do want to clarify, maybe they have been, by people who don't actually know the arguments that they're supposed to be making. One person who I talk to often about this is like my brother, who tends to identify as either some kind of centrist or like slightly more conservative. And this is the hard thing to deal with as an advocate, is because like sometimes he will just kind of like, I'm trying to think of the best way to be able to put it. Sometimes he will make what he perceives to be reasonably level-headed arguments or criticisms against like left-leaning positions. And then people who are, let's say, like college leftists or college liberals, right, will end up responding to them very poorly and will end up giving my brother the impression that actually, no, the left is just a crazy mob of people trying to censor whoever they, doesn't agree with them, right?
Right.
That can be difficult to deal with, because I don't want to say that like the left is a monolith, because it's not. It's just that I'm over here because all the arguments that I make happen to be mostly left-leaning. That's where I believe that the evidence leads you to be. But if you don't actually know the evidence, then it can be hard to be able to navigate those arguments and understand like how to be able to deal with those kind of nuanced situations. So generally what I would say is, I'm rambling a little bit. To kind of like bring it back in to the initial question that you had, like, how do you think through these things on yourself? Just pay attention to why people are being censored, especially if they do not say why, or why people are being criticized if they do not say why. Like, actually, like, focus on the rationale, because very often, usually someone will try to say that they're being silenced, and they'll try to paint it as if it's a completely reasonable thing to be or a completely unreasonable thing to be silenced for, when in fact it's probably something like very bigoted and overtly hateful. Like that's very common. And conversely, make sure that you're doing that, because often a lot of people like who don't know any better, I think, can be predisposed to criticize people who are making at least somewhat reasonable criticisms or responses, right? And you don't want to like punish them because they don't know as much as you, right? For those people, you want to walk them through like whatever it is you know, or their relative arguments, and you want to be kind to them, right? It's like the Michael Brooks statement, you know, be ruthless with systems, be kind with people, right? You want to be kind with people who are acting more out of ignorance than malice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I really like that. Like, yeah, I could come up with more examples, but I'll let you go. That was awesome. Thank you. Huge shout out to this community. If anyone needs help in psychology or stats or pre-nursing crap, at me.
All right, chill. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.